At the very beginning, Jax asked if Remember is an NPC to understand that not all beings in the digital world have a soul. When Jax kicks Gloink's bowling ball, he realizes that he is not actually harming anyone or anything by doing so. He is an NPC, not a real person. Up to this point, if you don't count the mild insults to Kinger and Gangle, Jax has never insulted him so harshly. Although he didn't need to do this, Jax assures Gangle that everything will be fine with Zooble, which he believed from the very beginning. Perhaps Gangle does not fully understand this yet because she may be a newcomer to the digital world and is actually worried about Zooble's safety. When a glitchy Gloink appears shortly after this, he gets nervous and hopes that no one else will see him and worry. When Kaufmo falls into Gloink's pit and attacks, Gangle asks about what is happening, and while she is asking, Jax looks as if he feels terrible in this situation, and when he tries to comfort her, he resorts to default to a fake smile. The reason I know this is a fake smile is how small it is compared to when he usually smiles, and also that there seems to be this little tremor in his lips as if he is trying to hold back emotions. So far, I did not know why Jax pushed Gangle. Looking back, there is a chance that he did this because it seems that Gangle still has a mask, and if she is still wearing a mask right now, then this time Jax could not break it because they are on softer terrain. Nevertheless, I feel that this time was very different from when Gangle fell for the first time, and it was quite terrible on Jax's part. In particular, Gangle was already in an emotionally vulnerable state of mind after Jax tried to comfort her several times. Gangle felt safe expressing her fears to Jax, and then Jax ultimately made her feel terrible and broken, betraying her trust in this way, and also that the first time her mask broke was an accident. For the first time in the series, Jax looks truly furious, looking down and then forward with clenched fists. However, he looks to the left at Gangle and then relaxes his hands. Jax might have been ready to pounce on Kane in anger, but for a moment thought that Gangle and everyone around him had already gone through enough and did not need further drama to happen, let alone because of him. After a few seconds, everyone seems to brush off. Kaufmo is sent to the basement, but I know that they really would not have started thinking so quickly and trying to think and talk about other things to distance themselves from what just happened before their eyes. Even Jax returns to the smile after a while, but the series as a whole shows us that this does not mean that he is happy, except for these short moments when he finds amusement. Having gone through the episode, telling about Jax and everything that happens to him from the beginning to the end of the episode, I would also like to talk about a few additional remarks about his attitude towards everyone else. No one, not even Zooble, hates Jax. Despite the fact that they have their disagreements and Zooble attacks him, no one tries to avoid him. They listen to him when he momentarily acts as a leader. Zooble stands next to him several times. Kinger does not avoid him and is not afraid to speak to him. And Gangle is actually not against expressing her fears and is in close proximity to Jax. Despite some of his actions being harsh and unjustified or just mean, Jax has done a lot to help the group and show self-control so as not to make people worry, and not to retaliate with anger. Although he could have handled the situation better, I still feel that he did everything he could to protect people in critical moments, although I still think that he should have told Remember and Regatta to run. Who is Remember? To get information to start the analysis, I ask myself why Remember was standing the way she was when everyone discovered her. To be more precise, you can see how she bends her knees in such a way that her kneecaps are turned inward and her toes are inward. Just recently, I learned that Remember in her current form has knocking knees, which is a developmental anomaly. At the same time, she does not stand as if this is some unique pose for the situation, but just the way she bends her knees. Given that she does not find this strange, it can be assumed that the human double, who is now Remember, also had this anomaly, but I cannot say for sure. After Regatta starts to approach Remember close enough where she could potentially harm her, Remember screams and scares her, prompting her to distance herself from Remember. Despite the fact that Remember risks pushing herself away from a potential companion, and she could have remained calm, Remember significantly outnumbers herself and does something like a worthy move, screaming at a wide audience instead of Regatta, because Remember has a high voice, which means that she has the potential to scare threats larger than herself. And to some extent, she has a justification to scream at a wide audience so as not to single out a specific person. Jax gets quite close to Remember quickly when he talks to her. If you review this particular scene several times, You will notice that sneaking up on Remember is quite easy. The reason is that all her attention was focused on Kinger when Jax was talking about him, and she did not notice how Jax was approaching, and was startled when he finally got so close to her. As for Remember's reflexes, Remember's reaction is to lean back with her back, rather than take a step to the side, which would otherwise put her at risk of falling and an easier target. After being told that the group, of which she is a witness, has been trapped in the digital world for many years, she tries to distract herself, but fails, and then goes into hyperventilation, which worsens her own situation. Although she does not believe that she is in a dream, she nevertheless comforts herself with the thought that she is in a dream. Although she is still in a state of panic, comforting herself with the thought that she is in a dream. In fact, this does not make her feel better, but rather, the thought that she stopped hyperventilating to report this allowed her to be somewhat less fearful and tense. In the episode, Remember often scans her surroundings. Despite how high they must be above the ground, Remember fleetingly notices an orange door, moving at the same time. Counting the time, how long she could look at the door, she fleetingly saw it, then shifted her gaze to another place, but then looked at it again. She had about 3 seconds to understand that this is an exit door, which I suppose is a decent amount of time. Throughout the entire episode, exit doors tend to appear and then disappear, and although she has already seen the world from her point of view, she decided to look again, and that's how she fleetingly saw the exit door. What makes this feat a little more impressive is the idea that she is currently dizzy and nauseous, which usually makes a person less mentally involved in order not to feel worse. When Remember asks about the exit door, I find it quite strange that she doesn't say, orange exit door, and specify that she saw this door, as well as a red exit door earlier. It seems to me that because Remember didn't explain the colors of the doors, she might have some form of color blindness, where she didn't feel the need to distinguish colors. If her form of color blindness is deuteranopia, then Remember might think that her jester outfit is blue-green, because according to the map, people with this can only see blue, green, and variations of yellow. In addition to not mentioning the color of the exit doors to be specific, she doesn't mention how she saw 2 exit doors in 2 different places, and also about how the first door she saw disappeared into thin air in front of her when she tried to reach for it. After Kane talks about how she might just be experiencing digital hallucinations in a happy tone, she slightly presses on the topic, where he then angrily raises his voice and continues to look slightly irritated, after which she squats and nods in fear. Kane, being an artificial intelligence, has a unique ability to abstract from human emotions and physical sensations. However, this does not mean that he is incapable of change or development. Perhaps Kane can learn to understand human emotions and relationships without experiencing them himself. Perhaps Kane will start analyzing the behavior and reactions of people with whom he interacts, and gradually form his understanding of emotions and relationships. This could lead to Kane beginning to model these concepts in his interactions, creating an illusion of empathy and understanding. However, this will be more like a scientific experiment than a true feeling. Kane will continue to analyze and adapt, but he will never be able to truly feel. This could lead to interesting dilemmas and conflicts in his interactions with people, especially if they start to treat him as a being capable of experiencing emotions. In the end, Kane will remain an artificial intelligence, but his understanding and interaction with human emotions and relationships can become increasingly complex and refined. This could lead to new and interesting dynamics in his relationships with people and his role in the world.